All right, guys, today we are going to be testing the D-5 e-bike from Himiway. And just like every other e-bike I've tested, it does come partially assembled in a large box. Assembly is very straightforward. The user manual guides you through each individual step you need, and it does come with all of the tools required to put it together. All right, now that we've got the bike all put together and the battery charged, let's go ahead and turn on the display here. You have a controller off to your left. It has a plus, a minus, a left, a right, an M, and a power button on the top here. You hold down the power button, that turns everything on. Your M button on the bottom here, that is going to change your display here from, you see we've got trip and odometer. You can look at your average and maximum speed. You can see the wattage used, the time duration, calories, and CO2. I assume that's CO2 saved by riding a bike instead of driving in a car, and then your torque and cadence power and RPM, and then you're back to your trip and your odometer. For your left and your right, I'll show those to you outside. That is going to be obviously for your turn indicators, and then the plus and the minus. On most e-bikes, that is going to change right here, and it will say PAS, pedal assist, and it's usually levels 1 through 5. In this case, because we've got a torque sensor, it's a little bit different. As we go up, we go from off to Eco Plus, Eco, touring mode, sport mode, and then my favorite, turbo mode. That is where we will be for most of this test because, of course, you guys like to see the top speed runs. Now, this bike does have a lot of internal settings. If you hold down the M, you can eventually get to a password menu. Once you're into the advanced settings, you have a bunch of choices here. You have general settings, assist system settings, assist mode settings, safety settings, system and OTA, and then finally contact us. I did go ahead into the assist system setting and I changed it to make it a class 3 bike. I also went into the maximum assist here and I changed that to 28 miles per hour. That is the highest, and that is just for our high speed runs. The nice thing about being able to change the e-bike classifications, if you go on certain trails, you are required to have no more than a class 1 or a class 2 bike. You do get decals from Himiways that you can affix to your bike, and that will allow you to go on to certain trails. And then I suppose if you were a dirty little criminal, you could go ahead and put that class 1 e-bike sticker on your bike and then put it into class 3 mode. But you wouldn't do something like that because you're a good person, right? All right, that's it for the settings. Let's go ahead and take this bike outside and take a look at it. Now, I've said this before, and I will continue to say it until something changes. Himiway makes the absolute best bikes I have ever tested. I have yet to find one low-quality component on any of the bikes I've tested. I have yet to have any failures on any of the parts. If I owned an e-bike rental company, this is the brand that I would use for all of the e-bikes. Starting off, we have a one-piece frame right here. It does appear to me to be cast aluminum. We have a aluminum swing arm on the back here. This is welded, and look at how clean all these welds are. We do have a cargo rack on this. Again, that is aluminum. For our shifter on the back, this is a Shimano shifter. We have 8 speeds. We have a motor in the back here. This is a 750 watt motor, and this is not a Bafang motor like most of the manufacturers out there. This is a proprietary Himiway motor, and from what I've seen, these things vastly outperform what they are rated at. I would put this 750 watt motor up against any 1000 watt motor on the market right now. We do have our torque sensor up on the front here. This looks a lot like a mid-drive, but it is not. This is just the torque sensor mechanism for our hub geared motor. We've got rear suspension, we also have front suspension, and then of course we have hydraulic disc brakes all the way around. We've got our controller off to the left here. I already showed you that. It does have a built-in throttle. We've got our bell, and then of course our shifter right here. As far as the battery goes, we have a 48 volt, 15 amp hour removable battery right here. If you saw when I was putting this together, I popped that battery out so that I could charge it. Now this bike is rated at 40 miles of range when using the throttle only and 65 miles of range when using the pedal assist. But what's really cool is in the user manual, it actually has a further breakdown of what range you can expect over different types of terrain with different levels of pedal assist. And as far as my experience goes, Himiway is far and away the most accurate with what range you can expect. One last thing I want to point out on this bike, if you look at the cables, they are protected with a sheathing on the exposed area, and then they run inside the frame and they don't pop back out until the very end of our swing arm right here. Same thing on this side. So you've got all of the cables are nice and tucked away inside the frame. Nothing is exposed. All right, let's take this thing out on the road. So if you've seen any of my other e-bike videos, you'll know that I've got a nice little trail. We start off with an off-road portion, and then after that, we go on a high-speed run. And then I've got a super steep 1.5 mile long hill that we like to go down, see what kind of speed we can hit. And then after that, we have to go back up it. And that is where we really put the bike through its paces. Well, the suspension is doing fantastic in our off-road portion here. We're just about ready to do our top speed run. So let's see what this thing can do. All right, we are in throttle only mode. So let's see what we can get up to. Nice flat ground here. We are at 20 miles an hour, 21, 22, 23, 24. Oh, let's see. It's slow. We're running out of room. 25, we'll have to hit that again on the way back. We'll see if we can get to that 28. All right, the next up on our test is the downhill portion. So we'll see what speed this thing gets up to. Whew. It is a beautiful day. We are at 30, 32, ooh, 35. So I get a lot of people that ask me, what e-bike should I buy? First thing I always say, get something with a torque sensor. The riding experience on a torque sensor e-bike versus a cadence sensor e-bike is as big of a gap as it is from a regular bike to an e-bike. So you've got regular bike, e-bike, e-bike with a torque sensor. It is that big of a deal. The beautiful thing about it is the harder you pedal, the more power that you get. So it doesn't feel like you're getting a lot of power assist. What it feels like is you're Lance Armstrong and you're just going way faster than you should be able to. Oh man, I hope I get back before it rains. It was beautiful. The weather has taken a little bit of a turn. All right, now we're heading uphill. So let's see what type of speed we can maintain. This is a smaller motor. It's 750 watts if you remember, but like I said, the Himiway ones seem to outperform. We also have that torque sensor, so I do need to make sure that I keep pedaling. I will lower my gears just a little bit here. We'll go up it in 4, and we are at 14 miles per hour. Drop to 13.7. And now we're climbing back up again. So where does that sit compared to the other bikes I've tested? Gosh, it's definitely in the top half. It's probably closer to the top quarter as far as speed maintaining up that. And then our battery life, we have not dropped 1 bar yet. We're only about 6 miles into our run, but the battery is still full. Let's go a different way back. And I would like to try out some of these different settings. So we were in turbo mode. Let's go to touring mode. So you still have the throttle. Looks like the throttle still goes up to the same speed. Oh yeah, we're climbing fast, 24. So the difference is just how much pedal assist we get when we're off throttle. So let's see what that feels like. Oh wow, that's nice. That feels like, it almost feels like you're not getting an assist, but I'm flying, I'm going 20 miles an hour. Let's go into eco mode. All right, we are in eco mode. Oh yeah, you can totally feel the difference. A lot less power there. Let's go to sport mode. A little bit better. And then turbo. Oh yeah. Turbo gives you a nice little boost. Yeah, I think I'll leave it in turbo mode. Well, for what it's worth, my recommendation is to use the throttle as little as possible and put it into the right setting that you want. So for me, that's turbo setting, and then you can adjust your speed really by just how hard you're pedaling and by what gear you're in. The 26-inch tires do make a big difference compared to the 20-inch that most bikes have. You know, I never even thought about that with the power. This thing only has a 750 watt motor and has 26-inch tires, and that's a lot of stress for that, but it's doing great. All right, my final thoughts. Just like every other Himiway bike I've tested, this thing is really nice. The quality is top notch. It does everything exactly as it should. Our top speed was 32 miles an hour on the way downhill. We went just about 28 miles an hour on the flat portion. It was able to maintain 24 miles an hour up a slight incline. Favorite thing about it? Torque sensor. That is just an absolute must-have. Any bike you're looking at, look for that torque sensor. And then one last thing, if this bike is priced a little bit too much for you, I think it's $2,000, just under $2,000 right now. There is the older version of it. I think they call it the Zebra. It's not called the 2.0. that would be one heck of a bike. It is currently, I think, $1,399. So if you're looking for a bike that is maybe 80 to 90% as nice as this at a big discount right now, I would say jump on that. Otherwise, that's it. Thanks for watching. See you guys.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.